Hello, welcome back. Part 2, Turkey. We are absolutely, as you've heard, diving into Turkey, diving into Belek. Really enjoying it. Let's get right back into it. So we've had a fantastic day at Montgomery Max. I mean, it really is just mega, isn't it, really?
Yeah, really good. So, we're halfway through the golf thus far. We've had 2 really solid tracks that we would recommend anyone to go play as part of a tour. And then we've had a bit of a treat in the third one in Montgomery Max, which takes us on to the second half.
Second half. So day 4 was originally going to be a break day. But given we just all love our golf just so much,
it's due to be a pool bar day.
Pool bar, just sidle up, have a couple of sherbets, get yourself really stuck in. But what we'd realised was we actually didn't need to not golf to do that. So actually, it'd have been quite a scary scenario.
Good point, actually. So because of the heat, we basically landed on the kind of fact that playing early was way better from a heat perspective. And because Kaminsky, great hotel, but it wasn't like it had a nightclub or it was going to go to 1, 2 in the morning. Like, it just wasn't that kind of vibe. It was an amazing dinner experience where you had some wine and some beers and whatever else you want to drink. There was a sports bar you could jump into afterwards, but it was never really, and they had like music, like there were evening entertainment, but it was never going to be a late one. And so we found ourselves kind of heading to bed at like a reasonable time each night, which meant we could get up and get off to the golf courses. And so we were getting up early, and so that obviously gave us the afternoon, because we were getting back in good time to do the things Josh mentioned. And so we kind of decided, why not go play golf on this day?
Yeah, exactly. A few of us had napped, a few of us had pool barred. Some were fresher than others as a result of their chosen activity for afternoons post-golf. But yeah, exactly to that. We did not need a full day of getting up, laying by the pool, and drinking to be really crass. So we actually spoke to Yassine, who actually owns the Kempinski.
Oh, gracious host.
Fantastic bloke, a very gracious host. And he was able to set up for us Robinson Nobulis, the Nobulus. Maybe I should suggest. Nobulis.
Like the microwave.
Yeah. The microwave. Yeah, so the Nobulus, which, as I peer over my slight reference sheet, and you know what, I'm going to bring it a little bit into me here now.
Into shot.
Is the 12th ranked course in Belek. So I mentioned previously that Gloria Old was going to be our lowest ranked course, highest ranked course, whichever way you see it, in 7. This was 12. So this was, therefore, the lowest ranked course that we were then going to play. I'd actually like, for those that have asked and wanted me to bring some sort of architectural history into these courses.
Oh, and there are many.
There are many, barring the Montgomery Max, and if you need me to tell you who was one of the co-architects of that, then you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Swings parallel.
Swings to parallel and really controls his golf ball.
Fader of the golf ball.
Robinson Abulis was actually created by an architect called Dave Thomas, who... I actually found this out, and you know what? I can bore you for a few moments here because I actually found it really interesting. And at this point, this was when I knew that I actually have no life and I just really adore golf. Okay, so I was just doing my bit of research, and you know what? I really got myself into a rabbit hole, and I found out that alongside Peter Allis, he was one of the co-architects for the PGA Brabazon course at the Belfry. Obviously, a
highly overrated course.
Highly overrated golf course. However, a Ryder Cup golf course.
Yeah, nonetheless.
He's also done a lot of work down in the Marbella area of the world. Almenara, Alcadesa, San Roque Old, and Marbella Club, all part of his designs. And what I liked about all 4 of those, maybe 3 of those, because Alcadesa's a bit crap. Fantastic golf courses. Really, really, very, very good. As well as then creating Bowood out in Wiltshire, which is actually where Jordan Smith the European Tour, DP World Tour winner, plays from. One of the boys, Gorman, good friends there, and he's there. As well as Batchworth Park, where I recently played, which I actually thought was a very good piece of ground. So just thought I'd bring that out there to the group. Really enjoyed it. So we rocked up there. We've mentioned previously that we had a 5-day Stableford. What you're going to hear here is this is our 6th round of golf. 4th round in the chronological order, but the 6th in terms of the tour.
Yeah.
And so what was the format that we played here, Stevie?
We played a good old-fashioned scramble, didn't we, Josh?
Old-fashioned scramble.
Yeah, we like to throw a scramble in, and there's always a bit of a to and a fro with the scramble, in the sense that great format, we really enjoy it, but it's always finding a place for it. It's always got to go somewhere in the middle, and it's always got to go on a course that we kind of can convince ourselves that we are happy not playing our own ball. Because here's the reality: if someone offered you a scramble at Montgomery Max, you tell them to go stick it where the sun don't shine.
Yep.
Like, everyone wants to play their own ball. But Nobilis at 12, we'd basically been told by our gracious host that the greens were absolutely fantastic. And I think that's what really got us over the line. And we got out there, and this just highlights the comment I made earlier about the floor is high. Nobilis at 12 is a great golf course.
It was sensational, I have to say. I think quite an odd one when stroke index 1 is the first.
Yeah.
That always kind of throws you off a little bit. But to your point there, the floor being so high was highlighted with this golf course. It was a genuinely fantastic golf course. And by the way, a great scramble course.
Great scramble course.
Managed to play in a team that we were able to play some really good golf that day. But if we talk about the course itself, you've got some fantastically reachable par 5s. You've got some par 4s that are strong. You've got water that you've got to carry off the tee, or you've got to play into and avoid going in second shots into par 5s or second shots into par 4s or over into par 3s. I thought it was a fantastic mix of strong golf holes and scoreable golf holes, very similar to Gloria in many ways, albeit without the sort of Villamora old umbrella tree feel.
Yep.
The one thing that I will say just made it seem a little bit more budget was when you get into a golf cart that's got TUI all over it.
Yeah.
It's not really what I'm looking for. You know, I've got absolutely nothing against TUI. Absolutely nothing. They do fantastic jobs, okay? They do great all-inclusive trips. But this golf course was a better golf course than that deserved to portray.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to apologise. You're going to have to do a bit of memory jogging for me.
No problem.
Practice facilities. What was going on at Nobilis?
So the practice facilities, again, whilst it being a one-tier jobby, was
it grass?
No, it was not grass. It was mats, and it was over to the left of the first tee. There was no short game area, and there was a very small putting area just next to that first tee, as we say. What I will say is we were a little bit short on time. Given we were playing a scramble, we took it in probably slightly less seriously.
Yeah.
Given that obviously we had a 5-day Stableford for the tournament, for the trophy. So we did turn up with less time to spend on the practice facility, but it wasn't quite there even if you had wanted to. However, it was one of those golf courses that you could, I mean, especially with a scramble, ease your way into.
Yeah, sorry, as I said, not a huge amount of practice. Practice facilities looked okay. Pro shop was pretty much non-existent from a want to buy perspective anyway.
Yeah.
Got on the course. Greens were as advertised. They were arguably the best greens we played on all week.
I think they were.
Just so pure. And the course was good. And I don't know if this is to do with the fact that I didn't play that well all week, and the scramble helped, because obviously you're just not, needing. And I'm bad, very bad, or very good. That's kind of my extreme swing with my golf game. So scramble suits me down to the ground, because I can come to play as and when, and then my off the planets just don't matter. So How much that contributed, I don't know, but had a great time, and I gave the course a 3.5 as a result. Now, just to kind of cap the scramble thing off, we won in Bulgaria with 12 under, and we felt like we played really well that day to get to 12, and I think we won quite comfortably.
Yeah.
So I kind of had 12 in my head as like if we get there, we're probably good. We played pretty well. I mean, we did have a bogey, which really stings on a scramble scorecard, but we got to 11 with holding out for the birdie on the last with the boys who were up ahead of us watching. And I think we probably thought we were going to draw at least.
Yes. Yeah, well, I think if ever you make a bogey in a scramble when you've got 4 chances at every shot, you probably should just walk off the golf course. Actually, would be my
it was a bad bogey
my
as
opening comment. I think my bottom lip would have really been wobbling if we'd made a bogey. We didn't make a bogey. We were able to shoot 59 that day. I think that was 13 under. I think it was a par 72.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
It was. Yeah, it does sound good. We played lovely. How much can you talk about it? We had 4 chances at every shot. So yes, we played lovely, but yes, we should play lovely. But we did, we all turned up when we needed to.
Do you know what was a surprise to me? Is with the characters were in that group ahead, we're expecting there to be a bit more like surface level emotion. We felt like we'd have a better understanding of where we stood whilst watching you boys putt out on most holes. Whereas you really didn't give us the sense that you were shooting a 59.
I just feel as though we were comfortable in the moment.
Yeah,
we were. As Xander Schauffele says, if you get too far ahead of yourselves, you're not going to win it.
Well, all I'm going to say is it's one for you, one for me.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how that develops as we go along.
1-1 there. But it was a good event. It was a great day. It was a lovely, almost midpoint to the week. And
felt like the midpoint, didn't it?
It did feel like the midpoint, and it was lovely because it had actually been voted off the trip when we were playing 5. It was nearly going to be a 4-day Stableford and a scramble. So for everyone to win, that was also fantastic, and we had a great day.
Yeah, had a great day, and so look, I thought the course was really good. Greens were good, had a great time. Scramble always promotes that. Gave it a 3.5 on course. I thought practice facilities were kind of meh. The fact that I don't remember them that well probably confirms that. I have done these scores slightly closer to when we actually went, just as for record. Pro shop, virtually non-existent again. And the patio...
The patio didn't really overlook much. You could see the 10th tee. You could see the...
It wasn't next to 18, was it?
It wasn't, no. You couldn't really see the 18th.
I mean, that immediately strikes it down.
But what I would like to call out was that the putting green, at the time, there were whisperings of the best putting green we've seen. It was an all-timer putting green. It had a down the hill, and then it almost came back up the hill with a wooden framing round it. So if you missed the green left or right, it just came off the wood. So you'd have to put right back to the start.
Yeah.
So, if you're playing a putting comp on it, it was sensational. A lot of the boys, they'd maybe lost their sense of humours that day. They were sat inside in the aircon eating the schnitzel, I believe it was at the time, which is again a weird choice for the turkey.
Flooding back.
But as a putting green, it really was a sensational. As I say, at the time, we were even calling it maybe one of the best evers. But to Steve's point, practice facilities otherwise were pretty average. The patio was pretty average. You couldn't really see anything. You could see the first half of your 10th tee shot, and if you really looked, you could see the 9th green, the par 3 over the water.
Mm-hmm.
The pro shop was pretty much
I'm feeling close to this pro shop conversation. I'm really excited about
shortly.
It. All right, hit me with some scores.
So I'm going to give that a 6.5.
Yep.
What I'd like to say though is, albeit that's the lowest ranked course and it's the lowest ranked that I've given it, I thought the golf course was actually very, very good, and I've given 3.5 to the course and 3 to the. Maybe if you could even go like a 3.75.
Yeah. I'm
without my quick
exactly the same as you. 3.5 course, 3 Ps. Really struggling to remember them in great detail, but yeah, 3. 6.5. Now, here we go. Back into the business.
So now we moved into what was a big final header, final 2 for the tournament. And this, I mentioned earlier about the tee times, and we've been playing earlier, and there'd been a little bit of back and forth. Well, at this point, we were able to move our 7 a.m. tee time back to, I think it was about 2 p.m. A couple of the boys, Steve included, were quite adamant that they didn't want that, but they were outvoted, which, it was very much who knows, it's already hot at 10. Is it much hotter at 2? Unlike me, I was pretty vocal with my thoughts. Yeah. Unlike me, I was pretty vocal with my thoughts in being that I didn't want to be at a 7 a.m. tee off on holiday, which is basically a 5:30 wake up. I just didn't think that was in keeping with the trip that we were looking to create. And I also felt as though that at 2 o'clock, you've probably got 9 holes of extreme heat and 9 holes of slightly less heat. And at 7 a.m., you've got 9 holes of less heat and 9 holes of still extreme heat. So who cares if we start in the extreme rather than finish in the extreme? And actually, I think it's fair to say that we wouldn't recommend you always playing at that time. But given how quiet the golf course was at that time, and given the enjoyable atmosphere on the back 9 with a slightly less oven door opening feel, it didn't hit us badly.
No. I think we lucked out, to be honest, in the end. The fact that the course was so dead probably does show you that probably not the preferred tee time within the day. But as I said, we were absolutely fine, and it worked out well for us. So you arrive at Carrier. Carrier is the number 1 ranked course in Turkey. And so the fact it's above Montgomery, and we've really felt so far Montgomery is kind of head and shoulders above the rest. We were really excited about this. So now the current venue of the so I say current, it was the latest venue of the Turkish Airline Open. So we turned up, and I think at this point we're 4 courses deep, and so I think we're going into it with our kind of eyes wide open, i.e. the pro shop disappointment through 4 courses has been pretty sizable, and I was starting to get over it through 2. I was just like, okay, maybe this is not going to fucking turn out for us, because everyone goes with a merch budget.
Fact.
And I certainly did. So we turned up at Carrier. Montgomery Max almost did it. It almost did it. And so really, really holding out for Carrier to deliver to me that polo. Let me tell you. Maybe because I was the most disappointed, because my expectation was probably the highest. The Carrier Pro Shop was absolutely diabolical. And here we go. I am desperate. I literally called to the golfing community. Will someone go down to Belek and sort out the stash?
Yep.
It is an absolute disgrace, the quality of these pro shops. I just don't get it, like, at all. It's bad brands, it's poor selection, it's shocking logos. There was nothing that even came close to like a look off the rack, like, oh, maybe I could. As in, nothing even came close to me passing with my money. And I am the most willing pro shop participant going, I'd say. And it just really, really was the disappointment of the golf trip.
Yes. You walk in, and again, you see the memorabilia all over the clubhouse. We've talked about Koepka, we've talked about Hatton, we've talked about Dubuisson winning at Montgomery. You could see back-to-back Justin Rose winners at Carrier. You saw Torbjorn Olesen win the latest one, which was granted a couple of years ago, but I think that's a political decision from what we've heard. So it set itself up nicely for what should have been a pro shop of worth, a pro shop of value. You walked in, again, it was just a big American Golf. It was, again, just a big set of racks of clothes with no logos.
And was it that we saw a video from another travel company that they were just like, I think it was literally like, welcome to the best pro shop in Europe.
Yep. That's why you really need to have to worry about and watch out for who you sign for.
But like, yeah, it was an American Golf vibe, which if you're looking for pure mass of merchandise, maybe, but like that isn't what I look for. And it was so big as well. It looked good. Like, you know what I mean? From a distance, you were like, oh my God, this could be great. Oh, just the whole thing, the logo, Carrier we're about to come on to it. It's such a good golf course. Why is someone not going in and just giving that a tidy logo? It's going to be drawing the best punters that travel there to play golf. And like, they're going to buy the merch. I mean, it is, honestly, like, I feel like I should be a consultant or something. Like, just someone, if they want to reach out, like, I will tell you what you need to get people's money out of their pocket. Like,
just literally create an umbrella tree.
But even, you know, I was collecting the ball markers, and I've got the ball markers from all these places, but God almighty, I was just like, I suppose so.
Yeah. I mean, it was as if someone clip arted Carrier.
Do you know what?
Onto the t-shirt.
And we can actually end it there. That's exactly what it was. It was literally a word art, clip art, whatever, just copied and pasted onto some, you know, relatively mid-level polos. So that's it. Let's move past it, because this is, you know, overall really positive experience, day and golf trip. But I just need to get it out. Like, pro shops, rubbish. Let's talk about Carrier, the golf course.
Yes, certainly, just to close the pro shop discussion out. You know, we all go on some trips whereby maybe you're playing 6 rounds of golf and you bring 5 polos, thinking, you know what, I'm going to buy a polo, aren't I? If you're going to Turkey, you're going to play 6 great rounds of golf, but certainly bring 6 tops, because you ain't going to buy one out there. And if you are, that's because you need to. Rather than if you go and play somewhere else where you bring one less and you're gonna be inundated with merch, okay? But then we move on from the pro shop, which yes was disappointing, but wasn't a shock given the experience we'd had.
Yeah, we were at least conditioned at this point.
And we moved into a practice facility that was in keeping with a Turkish Airlines open golf course, right? You know, we'd seen it at Montgomery Max, the grass range, the large grass range. We've seen multiple short game areas with large putting greens. But the one thing I really have to call out was we got to Nobulus the day before, and we called out, we think this could be the number 1 putting green. We've had conversations before on this podcast. What is your best ever putting green? We've mentioned the Links, we've mentioned Royal St. Ports, we've mentioned a few others that I can't bring to mind right now. But I genuinely would ask anyone who thinks they have a contender to take themselves, get on a flight, I don't care where you are, get yourself on a flight and get yourself to Carrier, because there was, I think it was 150 metres putting green.
How many tiers?
Multiple tiers, maybe 5.
But yeah. Not multiple. It was like a set of stairs, wasn't it? And it must have been 5 tiers, 6 tiers.
5, 6 tiers.
And it was like 150 feet.
And you will read that. I think it says it on the site, because I believe we were sat at dinner one night and we were like, 150 metres? Yeah, all right, we'll see it. Genuinely, it is 150 metres. As in, we did putting comps. We do putting comps everywhere. We do a snake off, so whoever's the last person to 3-putt in each group goes into a snake off there. Whoever loses that is the ultimate snake, and there's some sort of forfeit, whether that's a drinking challenge, whether that's some sort of ridicule challenge. And we genuinely had putts from the top to the bottom to the top. And might I add that from the bottom to the top, you could not hit putter hard enough to get to the top. I think you could from top to bottom, but you were also thinking that's overhit.
D green.
And D green's around a shot in our scenario as well. So it was one of the great practice facilities, if you ask me.
Yeah, so range was unbelievable. What was the messaging on the sign? The big sign, I think, just said "good luck" as you teed
Good luck,
off, which
just
was
behind the first,
which was quite funny. And yeah, I mean that the putting green is the best I've ever been at. Like that's just it. That's it. In all conversations from this point forward, we're always going to be comparing back to the Carrier putting green. It's a putting chipping green, but like the chipping green's as good it's just continuous. It's just seamless from shorter flags to longer flags. The quality of the grass is the same. So like, you know, it's basically just a big putting green. So that was absolutely phenomenal. Tell you what, that driving range, great driving range. It was hot warming up with the time we played. It was a hot warm up, but then we got out there, and much like Montgomery, it was a big boy golf course.
Yeah, you could tell the guys who were struggling with their golf swing because they were in the 1:30, 1 p.m. sun in Turkey. Well, I mean, we're talking sort of mid-30s, aren't we now? They are still stood there beating balls before this round, and you could see the guys who maybe felt a little bit more comfortable with their swing, who maybe hit 1, 2, maybe 3, just to warm themselves up. Stevie, you found yourself in the category of those really beating it down in the sun. Must have been a hot warm up.
Yeah, hence my commentary. I played well. You know, maybe I'm just a big time player for a big time course. I played well at Montgomery, and I played pretty shockingly elsewhere. So got to Carrier, obviously wanting to play well. I'm kind of out of it at this point from a competition standpoint, but I am defending champion, so name is already on trophy. And yeah, just was trying to find something on the range.
Yeah, we jump into the golf course now, and it really is a fabulous golf course. I think as a whole, the group did feel that this was warranted to be the number one. You know, we mentioned earlier when we were talking Montgomery that there were two courses that were in a league of their own. We mentioned Montgomery and we didn't allude to the other one, and this is that other one. This is Carrier. Stevie, you mentioned earlier the 16th hole, which actually for the pros has been elongated. And actually they have a grass tee box on one of the villas, on the roof of one of the villas.
So you got to go back out of property upstairs and then onto a villa roof to play the hole.
So it thinks of everything. You know, you talk to the 10th, 11th is a par 5, very gettable, but there's water all down the left, there's trees all down the right. It's who's got the bottle to hit enough to get within range, and then the water does not stop. It goes all the way up to the green. Who's got the bottle to go for it again? And then 11 again is shortish par 4, but not that short. There isn't a fairway out there. Water left, slight dogleg left. So really, if you've got a left miss, you're going to have some real fun. And, you know, I think about the 5th hole, water right. You know, I think about the 7th hole, water right. The 6th hole, even actually the par 3, water right. So whichever way your miss is, it tests you. And you can see why the pros genuinely have a great experience there and are tested with that golf course.
Yeah, and I think, you know, all the way around, it's a really, really good track. And then it just finishes with 17, 18, which are just two great golf holes split with a lake down the middle. And it was just a good kind of climax to the end of what was a really, really good track and a good round.
Yeah, it really was. So 17, you sort of push away from the clubhouse. There's a lake, as Stevie mentions, to the left of the fairway. There's out of bounds right. So you either lay it up short of the lake or you take it on. If you lay it up short, you're hitting 190, 200 yards into a pretty short green. And then you turn around and you come back towards the clubhouse. Again, the lake is on your left, but there's trees right, there's bunkers right, and you either try and take the carry on, which is about a 320-yard carry, maybe 310-yard carry, or probably not that carry, it's probably like a 290 carry, but really you're looking to be able to hit the ball sort of 310, 320 to be able to get it past that. Or you're laying it out right to be then hitting up the slope into what is a very well protected green.
Well protected. We were in the same group together, I think, and that was the Bish, you versus me, Crowther, and we went bang bang on 17.
Yes,
which was great. We had a great kind of like 20-footer met. In fact, probably more than that. It's probably a 25-footer got met with a 20-footer for a bang bang birdie in a full ball game that took us to the 18th, which was it was good. It was good fun.
Yeah, we had a great game that day. Played some good golf that day. Me personally trying to get the Mama Willa for the first time. I think I was about 8 behind at the time.
Hunting.
You'd imagine 8's not really hunting, but I think I was in second place anyway. Chasey was having a phenomenal tournament and continued to have a great trip. Playing nicely, managed to whittle it back down to, I think it was a 4 or 5 after that day. Won the day. But as you say, we had a great match. We had a great day. But that golf course was something really, really special. And, I've mentioned before that I've played the Montgomery Max before with my dad, and we've had a good day. The Carrier was one that I hadn't played before, and I was interested to see how it stood up to the Max. And I can see why it's 1 compared to the Max being 2, albeit I would still like to say, as an overall experience, I have actually ranked it exactly the same when we jump into that.
Yeah, we can jump into that now. I think 1 and 2, they are so close to each other in quality. I really felt I came off the course, both courses, with the same kind of feeling where, get it, 100% understand why they're tall courses. Both have fantastic finishes, great condition, both big boy golf courses. Both end up in a absolutely fantastic patio. So, I mean, without further ado, gave Montgomery a 4. I gave Carrier a 4. Neck and neck as far as I'm concerned. I really would not argue either way if someone was like, oh no, that's better, or no, that's better. And the 3Ps, practice facilities were absolutely world class. Like I said, we are crowning the best putting green. Well, certainly I am. Best putting green I've ever been on. And I'll be looking forward to trying to knock that off number 1 spot through the rest of my golfing career. Pro Shop was so disappointing. I've had my rant about that. And so course of 4, 3Ps of 4. And when I tell you the 3Ps of 4, because the patio was world class, the practice facilities world class, and the Pro Shop was rubbish. So I'm an 8 again, and it's a really, really big boy 8.
So I gave Montgomery a 9. I gave it a 4.5, 4.5.
Yep.
I'm going to give Carrier a 9 as well, but for different reasons. So I think both golf courses are 4.5. To Steve's point, no one's going to have a strong opinion either way if you said one's better than the other. I think they're both in a league of their own in Turkey. They're both sensational. They're both fantastic golf courses. The reason that I've gone 4.5 both for the courses, but the reason I've managed to find the same score for the 3Ps is that whilst the practice facilities, aka the putting green, is better at Carrier, I felt as though the patio at Montgomery, overlooking what is a fantastic finishing hole at Montgomery, is better than the patio at Carrier, which overlooks the 18th at Carrier, of course, the par 4. Just because it's set slightly further back, the Carrier patio, it's also a par 4 rather than a par 5, so there's only one shot that's going to come in rather than maybe a long iron or maybe a short iron. And then I also felt marginally, whilst both being crap, the pro shot was better at Montgomery. So as a whole, I felt the 3Ps played the same in that 4.5 sort of berth. And yes, I think I'm probably being fairly kind because I felt as though both tracks deserved more than an 8.5 that maybe I'd have given the 3Ps.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, I don't disagree with that. I thought patio-wise, they were pretty close to each other. But yeah, I'm very happy with them being scored the same. I think that is correct. So, day 5 done. We've had someone that's played incredibly good golf to this point, Mr. Thomas Chase.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of going in Dr. Thomas Chase. So we always go off in reverse order in the last day, and I had not played well. And so I was desperately trying to get into the last 4 ball, which I failed at just. I was 5th going to the last day, which was a bit of a shame. But we headed to National, which we had kind of rumbles on the grapevine about not being in too good a nick at the moment. But it's quite highly ranked. And it was showdown day for Mumawela. I think Josh was playing well. Josh was in 2nd, and he was within shouting distance. And he was going to be able to. You're going to be in the group with Tom, which I think is very important to kind of really understand where he is, how he's playing. And yeah, tell me how we arrived at National. I'm pretty tired by this point. We've played 5 rounds back to back. If that was enough backs. In 40-degree heat, and I'm obviously not thinking I'm going to win. So I was a little bit like at this point, but I know you had something to go for. So let's go.
Yeah. So the National, as you mentioned, Stevie, it was a course that we'd been told don't bother playing.
It's only because the greens apparently just weren't in good nick. Yeah. Like it was.
It's the oldest golf course in Turkey, and you can see that in that it does have some heritage, but also some sort of old-fashioned tendencies with the clubhouse and a few areas around that. It is ranked 3rd in Turkey, so it was one that certainly, having to talk about where I've got it right, I have to talk about where I got it wrong. I pushed for us to be playing this golf course because for me, having not played it, it's still ranked 3rd. I still therefore wanted to make sure that we were playing it. So, and as Steve mentions, we were back to the morning tee-offs. We had almost a split tee start, whereby a few people wanted to go out and warm up a bit earlier and a few didn't. I was in 2nd there. The Doctor, Chasey, was playing some great golf. Over 4 rounds, he was certainly under his handicap, which is always a good start, right? With courses he's not played. And it was tight enough. I think I was 4 or 5 back going into the last day. But we were on different warm-up patterns. So Chasey was on the I'm going to get there early warm-up
grind,
and I was on the I'm going to have a longer lie-in and a bit of breakfast and just sort of
let it fly.
John Daly it.
Yeah.
Without the fags. But we teed off together, and I was happy to not be paired with Chasey because we obviously in 4 balls we typically have a better ball match play game going. So I didn't want to root for him to hold putts for us to win the 4 ball match and then to be against him in the individual, which I was more interested in. So I was with Ryan, who had got himself in there in the 4th spot. And we were playing against Chasey and Crowther, who were both playing very good golf. Chasey had about a 4 or 5 shot lead. I was in 2nd. And I had a 1-shot lead over Crowther in that. I think there were nerves to kick us off. I think we both started with a bogey 6 on the first. But then, without going into my round in too much detail, I took a shot on the par 5 4th, which was a very good golf hole with the water all down the left, pretty tight. Hit sort of 2 iron off the tee, and then went with it with a 4 iron from about 240, but getting the heat, so it goes a little bit further, right? Managed to knock it to about 10 feet and missed the putt, obviously, but a tap in 4. Chasey made a fantastic up and down for 6, but again, from 4 back, we're back in it, and at the turn, we managed to find ourselves at level. So I had a really nice front 9. Without going into the detail that nobody really cares about, the man who deserved to win the event, in my opinion, over the week, did win it, and that wasn't myself. Chasey showed a fantastic level of composure and consistency over a 5-round competition. He played great stuff. He won the event. I won the day. Just want that to be known on camera. So that was, at least I did come second. But as a golf course, and more interestingly to the listeners, I thought that the golf course, whilst I played it pretty well front 9, pretty averagely second 9, but okay, wasn't in keeping with third.
No. My steam, I think, as I just mentioned, has kind of gone a little bit, and I just hacked it around National, and National was tight. It was probably the most penal. And when I heard that you, I think, shot near enough level par front 9 to really put yourself in the tournament, 1 under, sorry, I was like, wow. I was like, that is actually some really, really solid golf, because there was a lot out there to get you. And so I think just kind of, rolling in the fact I had an absolute shocker around there, I didn't particularly enjoy it. It definitely was my least favourite experience. Now, if I went back and played it day 1 and played it all right, maybe it'd be different. But for me, course was a 2-5. If I was to go back and look to, reorientate my loop, I'd probably be looking to sub-national out for a Licky Links or something like that.
I couldn't agree more. I think it was one that we were told we shouldn't play. I certainly pushed it, as I mentioned, as, it's ranked 3rd. It's one that you think, it's 3rd, it's got to be there for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I was thinking that, maybe it's going to be way better than people are totting it up to be when, Nobilis is 12 and Glory is 7, as in... I personally can't see how that's ended up 3rd, but...
Yeah, I agree. And we certainly got a bit blasé, because, as you mentioned, Nobilis 12, Gloria 7, they were both great courses, so it's like, all right, it might be 3rd, it might not be as good as that, but how bad can it be? And we're not sitting here and saying it was a terrible golf course. We're just sitting here and saying it was, out of the 6, it was certainly 6. Certainly 6. And I've played the Cornelia course, and it's certainly 7. Right. So for it to be ranked 3rd, having not played any others, Licky Links is ranked 8th. There's no world where I would imagine that to be worse than this course. I personally wouldn't be recommending this golf course to others. I also felt as though that the patio was very average, overlooked the 18th. Yeah, of course it did. But there wasn't much to both the clubhouse, the practice facilities. The putting green was very small and nothing to it. And then the golf course was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah. And so, I mean, to quickly round it up, 2.5 on the course, 3 on the Ps. It was a 5.5. So that, it lands it in 6th place for me.
Yeah, I've got it at 6, but very similar to you. I just gave it a 3 on the course and a 3 on the Ps. But 6, and certainly one that, again, if subbed into a Portugal trip or subbed into some of the Marbella courses, and I use these as places because they are well travelled to, right, by listeners, by everyone alike, would hold its own.
Yeah.
Would certainly hold its own. It's better than, if I think off the top of my head, any of the sort of the Pinta courses, the Gramachos. It's probably in keeping with a La Quinta. It's probably in keeping with certainly better than Los Aquiros in Marbella. It's probably just slightly worse than a Los Naranjos. But, you're talking courses that you would say are worth travelling to.
Yeah.
But just based on what we played, wasn't really worth it, and we'd subbed that out for a Licky Links, and I'd probably look to try and bring the boys onto the Cornelia golf course, or indeed, if the Pasha's open, we'd go on there.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So yeah, I think we're broadly aligned. It's just I decided to take the role of the harsher marker today, but what I want to know from you is, I know the scores will give somewhere. I want to know your top three, because you might have some joints in third, and then just generally overview of like Turkey as a destination, your pros, if you've got any cons, like just general takeaways. Now you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, very nice. So for me, number one is Montgomery. I think that has a nostalgic element. You know, it's somewhere I've played with my dad. It's somewhere I've played with the boys. It's somewhere that holds very close to my heart as a result of that. I always love courses I've had great experiences with family and friends. And somewhere that, you know, I was on the patio, gave my dad a ring, and we had a really good conversation about it. And that's very heartwarming and naturally just puts me in a better place of mind, right? So that's one. Carrier 2, again, would have no problem if someone switched that around. And then for me personally, at 3, I'd go for Gloria Old. I thought that Gloria was a fantastic golfing experience. We had a very good game. I played good golf. You know, as we always say, everyone's individual experience of a golf course depends on the weather, how you're playing, and the round you're playing in. Great golf match. Won it on 18. Played really nicely. Won on the day, and it was in 30-degree heat. You know, fantastic. You know, it's not a brag. It just adds to what makes a good golfing day. So I would say that they were the 3. I would say that Turkey as a destination is an absolute no-brainer. You've got something that we've actually not experienced very much as a golf trip is the relief and the comfort of the all-inclusive package when you get off golf course. So you enjoy the golf, which, by the way, you're not going for the all-inclusive. We're not saying take the all-inclusive and play lesser tracks. You're playing golf courses that hold their own anywhere. But then you get to come back and there is no conversation of, oh, I've only had 1 beer and someone's had 3 and da-da-da. You know, all those things that are very tiresome and what you don't want to have. Instead, you've got the all-inclusive package already set. Yes, there's less nightlife. But if you're really going on a golf trip, I did enjoy being able to wake up and enjoy my golf every day rather than being stinking hungover.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's somewhere that genuinely I would look to try and do every year. I think it is a fantastic experience. And if we size it up against Bulgaria, which was what it was originally sized up against, I think that Thracian Cliffs ranks in 3rd, 4th, and that's meant to be a standout golf course. It's nowhere near Montgomery and Carrier, and for me, it's in keeping with a Gloria, a Sultan, an Obulus, right? Whereas the other 2 would be bottom,
down.
You know, Lighthouse and
Black Sea Rama
would be lower than National for me.
Yeah, that's
which
I'll agree with.
You know, we're talking about now as an experience. Turkey's a no-brainer to go to.
Yeah.
So for me, I think if you can get yourself out there, it's very relaxing if you want it to be. The golf is absolutely sensational. And if you're flying from the UK, which, you know, we assume many of our listeners are, it's a 4 to 5 hour flight, which is very doable, very easy to do, even if you don't want to quite do a week.
Yep.
So I'd say phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah, from me, kind of similar. I have Montgomery, Pippin, Carrier as well.
Yep.
But those 2 kind of out clear 1 and 2. I've got Sultan as 3.
Nice.
I think just, you know, the PGA kind of credibility that gives it, and the fact there's a second track there as well that we didn't see, but it looked sharp. So probably would put Sultan in 3. And then, so I mean, to echo your points, just like without a doubt, the easiest to organise and easiest to go on golf trip I've certainly ever been on. The floor of standard is very, very, very high. I actually think it's quite good value for money, and it is a golfer's golf trip. If you want to go and focus on your golf, go to Turkey. It is very, very straightforward. And I will just leave a parting story because it is quite funny. So at Montgomery, we've had this amazing game, right? I'm playing against Josh. Great course. Really, we've all played nicely. We get to 18. Josh has got a 5-foot putt to halve the match. And I'm trying to film content like as we go, especially of Carrier and Montgomery. Like I want to be able to post this out. So I've set the camera at this angle that has the clubhouse in the background, and it's going to see Josh hole out, and it's going to all be done. All going to have a handshake. And I am stood. So if Josh is kind of putting out, I'm at his 5 o'clock. In my mind, out of the way. And then I have this thing as he's kind of progressing into his putt. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stood right in the way of the camera. And so I rock from kind of right foot with like a half step onto left foot, just as Josh goes to pull the trigger. And unfortunately, he misses and immediately spins round. I was like, who moved? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I actually can't believe it. And in my head, I was like, I'm not sure how much I've moved. And like, you know, it's a kind of bit of a moment. And I kind of go around and I say, I'm sorry. And just like, you know, give you a bit of a chance to cool off. Like, and I appreciate it was, not ideal. And I was just like, fuck, that's going to be on camera. And I went to review the footage, hoping that it was like an inch of a shift so that I'd be like, look, mate, stop overreacting. In reality, I moved a good 3/4 of a step, maybe more, right as he pulled the trigger. And I was just like, wow, the evidence speaks 1,000 words. And so I apologise.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Anyone that golfs with me knows that movement in my eye line behind me it's one of my problems. I don't have a strong enough mental game to not have that impact me. And basically I pulled it back and Steve almost basically looked like he was about to rugby tackle me, and my eye line was what I saw. And I've ended up just shoving this thing off the planet because I'm thinking, whoa, I'm about to be tackled. It won him the game, it won him some money, so whether it was for the cameras or not, it got him
gamesmanship.
him some money. But no, appreciate the apology.
We're still mates, it's fine.
We're still sat here today. So a great trip. We've really enjoyed it. Given the hiatus that we've had, clearly we've been on a few trips. So there's going to be some great content. We can't sit here now and tell you what the next one will be because we've been on that many. So we're going to have a quick chat. We will be back with you much sooner than you'd like us to be. And we look forward to delving into the next of many golf trips that we have set up. Thank you, as ever, for listening to us. Please do subscribe. Full Program Golf, Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. Get in there. Give us a listen. Give us a watch. Give us a like. Unsubscribe. Give us another like. Unsubscribe. Keep it doing. Apparently that works. So, as you said, thanks again. Really enjoyed it. Look forward to the next one.
Love ya.
Cheers, fella.